Hello, everybody. It's Greg Harrelson here with Century 21, the Harrelson Group in Myrtle Beach. And of course, I have been sending you updates, for years, and hopefully you've been receiving them. Updates on what's going on in the local real estate market in the Myrtle Beach area and the greater Grand Strand area of Horry County. And, this month I've just taken a good look at the numbers, and I would say, it's been a little bit shaky. There's some numbers out there that I see that I look at and say, gosh, these are really positive for the real estate market. And then there are numbers out there that, I look at and say, gosh, I'm not sure exactly where this is going, where this is leading us. Like, where are we going to be heading, over the next couple of months? I mean, ultimately, I'm very optimistic. I think we're all kind of hoping that those interest rates do soften a little bit. We do anticipate we're going to see some softening, but it's just so unpredictable right now as exactly how the Feds are going to manipulate the markets or manage the markets. So that's all kind of to be determined. But let me give you some hard facts about the market, and then I want to give you some suggestions if you're ever thinking about buying or selling in the market in the Myrtle Beach area. But to start off with some facts here on my notes, inventory over the last 12 months has increased by 41%. Now, if you think about that, that's a huge increase. But just to kind of soften that fact a little bit, understand that we were at record lows in inventory. So any kind of increase from a percentage wise can seem to be much greater just because we're starting from a lower benchmark, a lower number in the beginning. So inventory is rising. There's no question about that. The other thing is that we can say, well, we have this data that we look at called months of supply. Right now, there's about 4 months of supply on the market, and that's all property types, condos, homes, etc. Meaning, if no listings came on the market again, if there were no new properties to hit the market, it would take 4 months to run out of inventory. Now, there was a point a few years ago where we were at 30 days of supply. So in other words, 30 days and we would have sold out of all of our inventory. Now it's 4 months, 120 days. So we see as inventory is rising, then the month supply is also rising. Those two things kind of go together. Some additional data points that I want to look at is this. Right now, it's taking 102 days to get a property sold. So if you do go on the market, you could expect it's taking around 102 days to get it sold. So that's from the minute you list it, then it goes into the MLS to the time that it closes and you get your money at the closing table or wired to you directly to your bank. Now, back in September, that was 78 days. So all of last year, the fastest time of all of last year was 78 days. So really, from the fastest time to now the slowest time is really in the last 12 months, moved from around 78 days to 102 days. So it's taken an extra month to get a property sold, somewhere around a month, just shy of an extra month to get a property sold right now. So it's not too much of a change, but it's also consistent with inventory rising or month supplies rising. All three of those are kind of directly related together. None of it is really bad news. It's just, an understanding of the direction that we're headed in right now. It seems like it's getting a little bit softer. Right now, between August of 23 and January of 24, so I'm just looking at like in February of 24, we have seen declining sales every single month. Now, it hasn't been a lot. Let's just say 1 month there's 1,500 sales and another month there's 1,450 sales. It's kind of small decreases every month since August, except February. February, we saw an increase. We saw a bump in sales. We're hoping to see that when the March data comes out in a couple of weeks. We're hoping to see that March was also another little bump. Again, we don't know that right now, but we're hoping to see that. So from August through January, it was every month a little bit of a decrease. But February, there was a little bit of a reversal. So we'll see what happens, in the next month with that. I'm keeping my eyes on that. The other thing that I find interesting is as inventory is rising, the amount of negotiations between a buyer and a seller seem to be, increasing. In other words, back in October of 2023, when you take a sales price and, the listing price, what a seller was trying to sell the property for, and then what it finally sold for, the sellers were getting 98.3% of their asking price. So they were negotiating very little, very like less than 2% negotiations. Then in November, it went to 98%. In December, they only got 97.9%. So in other words, you can see that there's more negotiations going on. People are having to come off their price a little bit more. And then in February, it was a low of 97.7%. So there's been more negotiations going on. Now, does that mean prices are declining? Not necessarily. Because there's more negotiations, people are not selling it for full price. They're negotiating a little bit more. That doesn't mean that they're selling for a lot less than what other properties have sold for. What's likely happening is a lot of people have really been bumping up their sales prices, trying to get more than the last sale. And maybe they're not accomplishing getting as more as the last sale that they thought. So in other words, let's say there was a sale for 300,000. Now they're pricing their property at 315,000 and they're having to negotiate down to 305. Well, 305 is higher than the last sale, but it's more negotiation because they started at a higher price. So I just wanted to explain that because, a lot of times I can share numbers, but then it's left up to your interpretation of what these numbers mean. And, me being in the business, I think it's only responsible. I think I'm being responsible by making sure I share with you how to interpret these numbers. So those sellers are negotiating more. They're actually still selling for more. So it's not like the prices are going down. We're not really seeing downward pressure on pricing. Now, in another few months, if inventory keeps rising and interest rates do not go down, then yes, it's possible we're pointed in a direction to see a softening market. But we also know that there's some things that should be happening, like decrease in interest rates, that could balance that out and either put us in a position to grow a little bit more. I think it's more that it's going to put us in a more stable position where we're not really going down. So hopefully that was helpful. My job is to be a good resource for you. Now, if you're thinking about selling this year, please give me a call because there's two things that's very important. Number one, it's very important that we understand how pricing strategy impacts demand. So like there's different prices, ways that we can price a property to create certain demand for a property. And we know the more demand that you get for the property, the higher price that you get. So be careful that somebody just gives you one pricing option. No, there's multiple pricing options, but it's really more about how we create demand. The second thing is the days of just putting it in, listening with an agent and putting in the MLS and it sells automatically. Those days are over. You can see the average days on the market is increasing. So marketing, what is an agent going to do for you? How are they going to market the property? How are they creating buyer opportunities and driving showings? It takes, by the way, 8 showings to make a sale right now. It takes 8 showings to make a sale. So if I know it takes 8 showings, then I need to be building a marketing plan that can get us 8 or more showings. And if my marketing plan, if we're only getting 5 showings, then guess what we know? More marketing. So you need an agent that understands that part of it. You got to understand pricing and how you create demand with different strategies. And you got to make sure that an agent has a plan to market that property aggressively. We need to make your property stand out amongst the other properties, and that's how we get you a good price. Again, I'm Greg Harrelson, Century 21, the Harrelson Group down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I work the entire Grand Strand from Pawleys Island all the way up to Little River and then out past Conway and Aner. Anything I can do for you, please reach out. We'll talk to you next month. Bye-bye.